Today we have a person with whom I have a lot in common. One thing is that we both grew up in the rural setting amongst nature. Of course, in two different countries. He is from East Africa, close to from the country Uganda. Through his hard work and his determination and commitment, he is an information technology professional today, based at Kampala. He loves to read, find time for his regular running. 4:30 in the morning, he's up to have his run, and is a keen learner. Because of the influence of Toastmasters, he's transforming into a trainer and coach because he's finding his passion there. Friends, he's part of Kampala Sunrise Toastmasters, a wonderful club. Some of us should visit one day. They meet on Thursdays and Saturdays, alternate, and has an amazing group of members. And he's one who leads the pack. Ladies and gentlemen, for today's session, we have with us Toastmaster Agaba. He's speaking on the topic, manage time, manage life. Manage time, manage life. Toastmaster Agaba.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster, for the day, my knowledge. Well, you know, I knew about this speaker opportunity almost 6 months ago, but I kept on thinking, it's too far, it will never come. I wasn't really bothered about it, but time goes so fast. 6 months just passed by like a week. And just a few weeks ago, our VPE, the lovely Halina, asked me, Alex, have you filled up your information? I'm like, oh my goodness, it's here already. Then life happens and time goes by. So as I was thinking how soon, I asked myself, this must be a problem, and I like to solve problems. The problem was, I think time goes so fast. We are busy doing very many things, and how do we get the most of our time? And I thought to myself, if I'm having this problem, surely I'm not the only one. So today, Toastmasters on the call, I'm going to call you into my agenda of time. I want to show you if you have a time problem or not. I want to have a discussion on time because time is one constant factor that affects everybody. So in true Toastmasters fashion, if you have a speech more than 7 minutes, what do? You create a PowerPoint. So I created a PowerPoint, and here we go. I'll share my PowerPoint. I'm assuming you can all see my screen now. So the presenter is yours truly. I belong to, my home club is Kampala Sunrise, but along the way, because Zoom happened, I also belong to Trainers and Coaches Advanced Online Club. The club was challenging me to speak for more than 7 minutes. It's my first time to give such a long speech. Here we go. I'll time myself just in case. So Toastmasters on the call, is this talk for you, do you think? Are you too busy? Maybe not. Maybe you've figured it out. You know how to manage your time, or have you? I'm going to show you in the next slide if this talk is for you. How do you spend your time now? I imagine most of us spend our time maybe working, maybe we are retired, but we must be doing something with our time. Toastmasters, how do you spend your time? That's a question for you to ponder upon. How do you want to spend your time? Perhaps you spend your whole day at work and you're thinking there must be something more to life. You can't wait for the weekend. How do you want to spend your time better? So as I was doing some research, I came across a realization of how we spend our time every day. Every day, there are some specific tasks, at least 5 that we do. These tasks are non-negotiable. Everyone goes through these tasks, and they are: number 1, we all sleep. Number 2, we all eat. Number 3, somehow we all move. Human beings, we are mobile. We travel from one place to the other every day. Number 4, we do some errands. Number 5, I call this hygiene. Somehow, I didn't wake up like this. I wish, but I had to wake up, dress up, clean up, brush my teeth, comb my hair. That's what we do, and I call it hygiene. So, for some reason, I asked myself, how much time does an average person spend on each of these 5 non-negotiables? Remember, it's not all we do, but they are non-negotiable, like we all do them. But how much time do you allocate to this? If you're a healthy person like me, you probably want to sleep for at least 7 hours. Then how much time do you put to eating? This also includes the time taken to look for food or maybe cook it. How much time in a day do you put to this activity of eating? Now I'm thinking, if Toastmasters are having 3 to 4 meals a day, I think 2 hours is pretty decent. Then how much time do you spend traveling? You have to go to work, or you have to go to somewhere in a day. On average, people spend at least 1 hour moving somewhere. How about your errands? Those small things you have to do. Perhaps the most common errand around my city is maybe shopping, or you have to go pick up something, or yeah, most people like going to the market. So I call that an errand. I gave it 1 hour also. How about hygiene? You comb your hair, you wash your clothes, you dress up, you take a shower, probably more than twice a day. I also gave that an hour. So if you add up all these activities and the time they take, 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, if my math is correct, that's 12 hours. So you find that in one day, you have 12 hours going to things that are non-negotiable, that you just have to do. And if you look at a clock, a 24-hour clock, 12 hours is half your whole day just getting started. So you spend half your whole day just to arrive. Then when you arrive, what do you do with your time? If you're fully employed, if you're a full-time worker at any business, that means you're probably going to give it at least 8 hours. So if you add 8 hours to 12 hours in a 24-hour day, you get 20 hours. So you have 4 hours to do anything in your passion. You only have 4 hours to do something for yourself. You only have 4 hours to do things you like, things that are good for you, to invest in your maybe time and money. You only have 4 hours for that. 4 hours is almost a quarter of a whole day. To me, that looks very little. So Toastmasters, I hope now you realize if you're too busy or not, or if you have enough time or not. To me, when I saw this, I realized that maybe I don't have much time in a day. If I have only 4 hours a day, maybe I don't even have much time left on earth, because every day I can only use a quarter of it. That got me thinking. For every scarce resource, what do? you want to use it more effectively. Now, in this case, time has become a very scarce resource. Notice that I've not mentioned some activities that we do in a day. What are those other activities that you do in a day that probably also take up your time? Personally, I like to go running when I can. I like reading a book when I can, and they're not even listed here. Clearly, time is a scarce resource. I won't even talk about the Toastmasters meetings that we like to go to. So, is this talk for you? Are you taking on too much in one day? You only have 4 hours. Questions to ponder. I was very impressed in today's Table Topics Master when today's Table Topics Master asked, I think it was Manoj, this prompt. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Believe me, I didn't have this in my slide, but when I heard him ask that question, I quickly went to Canva and made edits to my slide and added this quote, because to me, it speaks my presentation. Now that you know that you only have 4 hours, are you going to leave it to chance? Are you going to live your life without direction or destination? So if you don't know where you're going, I guess any road will get you there. But do you want to be in that situation, since you know that now you have a very scarce commodity, which is time? So what do you do in this case? You set yourself some goals. And this we all know, or probably we all know that goals need to be smart. To set yourself effective goals, you need to set yourself smart goals. A smart goal is specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, it's realistic, and it's time-based. It has to be very specific. Like you have to say, I want to lose weight, but how many kilograms do you want to lose? You can't just say 2022, my resolution is to lose weight. How many kilograms? Measure it. Can you act upon it? How can you go upon your resolution to lose maybe 50 kilograms? Is it realistic? You are 100 pounds, you want to lose 50 pounds in one day, in 1 week? How realistic is that? Put a timeline to your goals. One effective way I have adopted to measure my goals or to make them specific and time-bound is coming up with a vision board. Now, a vision board is something that's very visual. It's something that you can even do manually. You can get a cardboard and some pins, and then get a magazine and cut out these items you want to achieve in 2022 or in 2023, or whichever year you decide to make your vision board. If you want to buy a car, get a magazine and cut out a car. This is really the old fashion of doing it. If you're cutting out items from a magazine, if you want to get married, cut out a picture of a bridal, then pin them on your vision board. When you pin items on a vision board, there's something about images and pictures. And you put this vision board somewhere you can see. That place in your house that you look at every day. Perhaps your bedroom next to the mirror. When you wake up every morning, you look at your vision board and you're constantly reminded of your goals. When you make a vision board, you are very clear about your goals. You're not very vague. I mean, a picture speaks 1,000 words also. Do you know what's coming? Have you set yourself up to always know what's coming? Or do things surprise you? Is everything you're doing a surprise to you? You are never ready. I knew about this talk 6 months ago. So I knew it was coming. And that, I think, kind of helped me mentally without knowing, just knowing that it was coming. I somehow, everything in my life aligned to this talk. It's amazing how it works, but just knowing that this talk was coming, everything I've been doing has been about time management. Even my speech my last speech I gave at my club was about time management. So life aligns properly for you when you plan, when you know things are coming. Did you know that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion? I found this quote very interesting. If you set out to get your master's in 10 years, believe me, you will get your master's in 10 years. If you set out to get your master's in 1 year, believe me, you will get your master's in 1 year. That's how life is, and that's how work is. If you say, I'm going to write my speech for my next project in 6 hours, you will write your speech in 6 hours. But if you know you have a whole week to write your speech, you will write your speech in 1 week. Again, life works in very miraculous ways, I must say. Imagine that you can control how much time you can spend on any task just by setting a time to it. A wise man called Stephen Covey once said, keep in mind that you are always saying no to something. This quote is going to take me to my next slide, but ponder upon it. Keep in mind that you're always saying no to something. I'll get back to this quote. The time management matrix, also by the same gentleman, Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey identifies with a time quadrant matrix, whereby in life, some things are always going to be urgent and some things are always going to be non-urgent. Also in life, some things are going to always be important and some things are always going to be less important. So if you choose to do the important things, if you say yes to doing urgent things, somehow you're saying no to doing less urgent things. So in Steve Covey's words, you are always saying no to something. You're always saying no to something. If you say yes, if Toastmaster Harina comes and says, Alex, would you become the Toastmaster of the day at the next meeting? If I say yes to her, I will be saying no to something else I would have been doing at that time. And that's how life is. So what this time management matrix calls us to do is to identify the things in our lives. Whenever you have a task to do, ask yourself, is this task urgent? Is this task important? Is this task urgent? Is this task not important? For example, I woke up this morning and I had to go and teach a class. That class was urgent this morning and was very important to me. It was in quadrant 1. But if you had asked me yesterday or the day before, that class was important but not urgent. This takes us to planning. You should always avoid being in quadrant 1. I find that being in quadrant 2 is the best place to be when you have time for your activities. If every time you're doing things in quadrant 1, urgent and important, you're always in a hurry, you're always in a crisis, you're always doing pressing problems, you're always working to beat a deadline. Who wants that? I mean, how much can our bodies take if you're always just in a rush? So personally, after reading this quadrant, I'm trying to put everything I do in quadrant 2 because I want to plan ahead. You can't come to me this morning and tell me, Alex, I need help. I want you to come and maybe drive me to town. My car got a problem. You can't come that morning and tell me to give you a lift to town. It's urgent and important to you, but to me, it might not be urgent and important. And I'll avoid trying to work in your own urgency and importance. So if you tell me a day before, a week before, I'll allow it to be in quadrant 2. That way, I'm giving it long-term planning. When you plan for something, your day aligns properly. You're not pressed for time and you're not always in a crisis. Also, this time management quadrant is telling us to avoid quadrant 4 and also quadrant 3. Quadrant 3 are interruptions we get. It's urgent, but it's not important. Those notifications on your phone, we're all on WhatsApp, right? You know how WhatsApp can be urgent, but not so important, right? Some emails and calls can look urgent, but not important. Quadrant 4 is the worst. It's not urgent and it's not important. So what are you doing in quadrant 4? What things in your life belong to quadrant 4? They are not urgent at all and they're not important. Toastmasters on the call. Do we have any things in our lives that are in quadrant 4? Perhaps you want to share, you can type in the chat. You can say quadrant 1, this quadrant 2, this quadrant 3, this quadrant 4, this. Let us know what in your life, what activities are in quadrant 1, urgent and important. To me, this morning I had a class and it was urgent and important. There's nothing else I was going to do this morning. I had to finish that class. What things are in my quadrant 2? They are not urgent but important. I have quite many things in my quadrant 2. There's a course I'm studying online. It's called UX Design by Google. It's a very important course for me, but it's self-paced. So right now it's not yet urgent. I have like a month to finish it. So I'm going through all those emotions of relationship building, finding new opportunities, long-term planning, preventive activities, personal growth, recreation. I'm happy with that course right now, the way it's going. What things could be in quadrant 3? Urgent but not important. Wow. Me, when I open my WhatsApp, there's so many urgent things that are not very important. In my email, sometimes I never check my email for a whole day because half the time I know many things in my email are looking urgent, but they're not important. I check my email when I'm going to sleep. It's very shameful, but I chose that for my mental health. I have a lot of anxiety for my inbox. I don't open my inbox in the morning. So if you send me an email in the morning, the joke is on you because it will take me 12 more hours before I read that email. What's in my quadrant 4? Trivia, busy work. Quadrant 4 is not urgent, it's not important. I really don't have anything in my quadrant 4 that I can think of right now because I have 4 hours in a week. I really can't spend that 4 hours in my quadrant 4. Quadrant 4 would be watching Netflix. Quadrant 4 would be watching YouTube videos. YouTube has a lot of videos. So some of them are very interesting, educational. How about TikTok? These are all quadrant 4. So I will try and stay away from those things. Unless I'm taking a break, I can look at quadrant 4 activities. So these are what I want to call my parting gifts. Before I give you my parting gifts, I'm curious to find out what's in your quadrants. Is there anything in the chat? Let me check the chat. It's just hard to present and check chats at the same time. Does anyone want to help me? Alina, just pick out like 3 items in the chat. I see quadrant 4, playing games. Yeah. Addicted audiobooks. What quadrant is that? By Kerin. Quadrant 4, having regrets. Interesting. Yeah. So a few people have typed in the chat. So yeah, I guess you know what's happening now. So every time you have a task, someone approaches you with a task, ask yourself, does this task belong in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, or quadrant 4? And then you decide if you want to do it. My parting gifts are tools I use to make the most of my time. The number 1 tool I use is Calendly. It works like Google Calendar, but you can sign on Calendly with any email address, and you can share a link to anyone so that they can see your calendar and see when you're available, and they can maybe book a session with you. I also use the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is all my activities are timed 25 minutes. Every time I'm doing something, I give it 25 minutes, and I have a clock that counts from 25 to 0, and then I get 5 minutes break. So if I'm studying, it's 25 minutes. If I'm writing a speech, it's 25 minutes. Whatever I'm doing is 25 minutes. Then I get a 5-minute break. By timing my activities, I'm giving myself that extra push to work faster. And if I do it 25 minutes 4 times, I change it, because that means that that activity is not ending. Probably something is blocking me. There's something hindering me. So if I take 4 hours on an activity, it's just feedback that this activity cannot be finished in 1 day. So I pause it and then I do something else. The third one is WhatsApp archive. If you check your WhatsApp, it has an archive function. If you don't know what it is, check your WhatsApp right now and then press a message. Just select a message by long pressing it. On top of your WhatsApp, there will be menus like mute. One of them is going to be archive. When you archive a message, those messages no longer come to your inbox. Those messages are kind of hidden from you. So I do it for several groups I am on. I archive the groups so that they are not distracting me. Then I can go back to those groups in the evening when the day is ended, and I can look through them. By archiving my WhatsApp messages, I am having a day that doesn't have that WhatsApp anxiety when your phone is just ringing or full of unread messages. That's been my presentation. Thank you very much. Back to you, Toastmaster of the morning or evening.